Welcome to the NC DWI Guy podcast, where defenders of the Constitution assemble to prepare for courtroom battle and firm owners gather to develop marketing strategies that will revolutionize the practice of criminal defense. Here's your host, the NC DWI Guy, Jake Minnick.
Hello, fellow freedom fighters, and welcome to the much anticipated, long-awaited episode 352 of the NC DWI Guy podcast. On today, we're going into the war zone, into the training ground, into the dojo. We're going to spend some time in the dojo here over the next 5 weeks, getting back to the basics as we refuel the podcast, getting back into the training grounds, the discipline of being a stellar lawyer, somebody that shows up for clients. And today we are talking about the consult. So I'm going to give a little bit of an overview to our dojo series here in just a minute, and then we'll dive into the first dojo location, which is the consult. But before we do that, I recognize that it has been a long time since I have recorded a podcast episode. By my count, I have not put out a new episode in 9 weeks. Now, that may seem small, couple of months basically since the last podcast went live. But since I began the podcast in the spring of 2020, 251 episodes in. Since I started the podcast in the spring of 2020, I believe that I have only missed 2 episodes, 2 weeks where I didn't publish an episode, and they were not consecutive. So over the last 5 years prior to now, twice I have skipped a week. I have now skipped 9 weeks consecutively. So if you want to know what kind of a roller coaster ride that my life's been on in not getting out a podcast episode in 9 weeks, I'm not going to divulge that right now. It has been a wild ride. That's all I can say. It's been one of the most trying times in my life, professionally and personally, and maybe at some point I'll do some sort of like a mental diagnostic of what that looked like, what the learning lessons were from these past couple of months from a life and professional perspective. But again, it's been a wild time, and uncharacteristically have not been able to get a podcast episode out. So I am super psyched to be back. Super excited to get into the discussion today. I will say semi-disappointing. I only had one person that asked when the next episode of the podcast was going to be released. Nobody sent me a message saying, "Hey Jake, are you still alive? Do you care about us? Are you still interested in practicing law?" I didn't get any health and wellness check. Totally kidding. Appreciate the patience as I got this next episode launched, and super excited to get back into the conversation with everybody. Again, a lot of reflection points on my end. And so we are going to start with a 5-part series that I'm going to call the Dojo series. Dojo in Japanese is translated as the place of the way. So what are we doing in this series? I'm going to kind of give you the overview of the series, and then we'll dive into location number 1, the place of the way. During Lent, which we have just come out of the season of Lent as Catholics, as Christians, and into the glorious season of Easter. But during the season of Lent, one of my favorite podcasts, Father Mike Schmidt's Sunday homilies. Father Mike focused on the dojo, the place of the way, the training ground for the Christian. What does training to become a better Christian look like? And it was an amazing series, but I loved his theme of the dojo, which is the place of the way. And the place of the way to me is a focus and emphasis on location, on a present moment, on a place. In the Christian life, the way is basically the path, right? The Christian life style. What does it mean to be a saint? So again, Father Mike was focusing on where is the place that we learn how to be a better Christian. Well, in our series, we're obviously focusing on where is the place that we learn how to be a better lawyer, how to be better at what we do on a day-to-day basis. And I love the focus on the place. Brian King's law firm, their intake center is located in the dojo. It's located in what he calls the dojo, lovingly calls the dojo. And it's also where they have a full-time staff member that is devoted to training, to internal education as to policies, procedures, how to improve the client experience. They have a full-time trainer that is dedicated. You could call her the sensei, right? The teacher. She is dedicated to helping everybody on the team get better at what they do. And it happens in that training ground, in the dojo. If you want to get better on the basketball court, you don't just play a bunch of games, although that's great. The games is where you put into practice, into reality, what you have done in the training ground, in the gym, during practice. We say we put it into practice, right? So where is our training ground? As lawyers, where is our training ground? Well, I'm going to talk about the 5 C's. And one of these didn't fit nicely, so you're going to have to forgive the C that I chose for next week's Dojo Series podcast. But the 5 C's, these are the places of the way of the DWI warrior. The places of the way of the DWI lawyer. Here's the 5 we're going to talk about. Number 1, the consult. Number 2, the closet. That's the office. My first office was located in what I affectionately term a makeshift closet. My main office, physical office now in Asheville, is in a pretty small space. So the closet or the office. Place number 3, the calendar. Place number 4, the CLE, the continuing education track. And place number 5, the courtroom. So the 5 C's. So let's dive in wholeheartedly to location number 1, dojo number 1, the place of the way number 1, the consult. Now, I've done some other episodes about the consult. Episode number 14 is how to conduct a DWI consultation. This is just like nuts and bolts of how to do a DWI consultation. Episode 64 is more of a question of, it's titled, Why Should I Hire You? And it's about thinking through your difference, your unique selling proposition, something that you uniquely bring to the table with regard to the client, and making sure you have a rock solid answer to that question, especially as it relates to the initial meeting, the initial consultation with the client. And episode 197, where we talked about what people are thinking about my DWI charge. And this is basically kind of from the client's perspective, the kind of what is going through their thought process about what somebody else is thinking about the case. So, Dojo number 1, the consult. Why is the consult so critical? I'm going to say for 2 primary reasons. Reason number 1, this is where trust is built. This is where trust is built. Number 2, you won't have a business if you can't convert clients. You won't have a business if you can't convert clients. So where trust is built, if you can't get a client to trust you, then they're not going to hire you. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation, but they're also potentially not going to divulge all of the important information about their case. They are not going to have full buy-in to what you are doing as a lawyer. If after that consultation, the client does not believe in what you are doing for them before they've even hired you, if they don't believe in what you're doing, if they then subsequently do hire you based on price point, based on the fact that you've given the most information, whatever it might be, if they don't trust you, every step along the proverbial case path is going to become a friction point, because they will not have buy-in to what you're doing. They are not going to trust the further information down the road that you communicate to them. The consult is where trust is built. Again, secondly, you won't have a business if you can't convert clients. The consultation is critical because this is your sales pitch. This is your sales pitch. And I love, and I've used this many times in the past, I've talked about it many times on the podcast. I love this syllogism, right? You have 2 circles that overlap only in one small sliver of a section, right? So 2 circles, same size. They don't completely overlap one another. They barely are kind of crossing into one another. And the syllogism, what is that space in the middle where basically you have some group of people that is in both circles. So here's what's in one circle. This is the idea. The best cases go to the best marketers. The best cases go to the best marketers. In the other circle, clients deserve the best legal representation. Clients deserve the best lawyer on their case. So where do you want to be? You want to be the one providing the best client experience, the best client service, the best legal services, but you also have to be the best marketer, or somebody else is going to get hired by that client to handle their charge. So you want to be the one in the middle, the one that's great in the courtroom and great with clients, great at building trust, great at getting clients to retain you. You can't help clients if they don't hire you. That's the reality of the situation. You want to help people in the courtroom, you better get them to hire you after that initial consultation. So here's what we forget, and this is something to me why the consult is so critical. Consultations. I have done thousands of DWI consultations where I have talked with a client about their situation, heard their story about why they got stopped, the accident they were in, the field sobriety test that they were put through, what questions did the officer ask them, was there a blood draw, did they get advised of their Miranda warnings? No, I'm just kidding about that. All of these questions that can kind of feel mundane, feel monotonous. And you can kind of roll through these things, roll through the consult. It's like, I've done this, 1,000 times before. It's going to be the same story to some degree or another. Maybe there's a person that has multiple prior DWIs. We're looking at a different sentencing outcome, but we can kind of approach it like, I've heard it all before. and it can get mundane. It can get monotonous. And again, this is one of the places, client interaction, where I think a lot of criminal defense lawyers get burned out. Tired of doing this. I'm tired of hearing the same story. I'm tired of helping ungrateful people. I'm tired of listening to other people's problems day after day, right? And what we are sold currently as a culture is, it's just not doing it for me anymore. You know, we're sold this kind of like what feels good. Happiness is what feels good. If your day-to-day work, day-to-day life isn't making you feel good, then you should go find the thing that makes you feel good. You should go find the thing where you have more pleasure doing what you do. And I think that there is some level of truth to that. So that's why it's such a good sales point from the self-help industry is you deserve to do the thing that makes you feel good. But the reality of this situation is that there are very few jobs where everything about the job feels good, right? Ask anybody that's a cashier, in construction, that's a doctor, that works as an accountant, that works for the government, right? Ask anybody if 100% of the things that they do is just constantly bringing them joy. It's probably not a place where that is occurring. So, can't just be about what are we doing? What are we doing for others is the real question. We are here to serve others. Forget about yourself during the consult, and I promise you that it will bring more joy. In the consult, you are meeting another human being at one of the lowest points in their life. One of the lowest points in their life. They are about to divulge an extremely embarrassing situation to you, to look to you for guidance on how to get their life back on track, to make sure that they are not making a further mess of a already monumental mistake that they have committed. They come in tail tucked between their legs, and they're looking to you for guidance. Don't take that moment for granted. And I say that having taken many DWI consults for granted. It's just the next story, the next thing, the next tale. I've heard it all before. This is the first time this person is divulging this information in a lot of cases, and it can be extremely embarrassing, painful, difficult. Again, for any of the Catholic listeners out there, confession, beautiful sacrament in the church. You go communicate your wrongs, your sins, where you have missed the mark in your life. And you are literally absolved of sin through the words of absolution by God in this sacrament. And it's an amazing feeling walking out of the confessional. It is often a horrific feeling walking into the confessional. There have been many a time that I have been in line for the confessional, many a time that I have been preparing with my examination of conscience, sometimes day, week before thinking about this. You can see this on little kids' faces when they're making their first confession. There is a really a lot of weight on the person, the sinner, going into the confession. I can remember my son Beckett preparing for his first confession, and you could see the wheels turning as we were going through an examination of conscience. There were certain things that I would say, have you treated other people this way? Have you done these things? Have you said these words that were mean, untrue, whatever it might be. And you could see him like thinking through this like list before he was going through to his first confession. Oh my gosh, I've hit a lot of these items. You could see the anxiety on his face as he went into the confessional. He came out and there's a bunch of second graders all lined up. They do it separately for those preparing for first confession. They have like a special confession time, and so it's all of the second grade class that's going through this. Beckett comes out and he like yells at the church, "I only got 2 Hail Marys." You could just like see the relief on his face of like, I don't know if he thought he was going to be sentenced to death in the confessional or like what he was expecting coming out of confession, but the relief of like, oh, I'm free. And like, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Like you could feel that. And so again, just using that as like an example from my own life, when you have a client that calls in, this is a big deal. Some people don't act like it's a big deal. There is very few people that actually are like so desensitized to the criminal process or have done it enough times where there's just no remorse. In fact, I can say that clients that I've had in the past that have received their second, third, fifth DWI have been some of the most remorseful and embarrassed clients because I've represented them in the past. And the idea is, okay, I've learned my lesson from this. I'll never come back again. And they almost come in like, I can't believe I've made the same decision, the same mistake, and I'm back speaking with you again. Just can't believe it. It's almost like something that they can't process sometimes of how in the heck did I get back into this space? So don't forget, the consult isn't about us feeling good. It's not about us just selling something. It's about others. This is a great place to ask this question. What is your mission? What is your mission? And I mean the mission of your firm, your mission as a lawyer. What is your mission? The consult is a great measuring stick of your mission. If your mission is profits, if your mission is revenues, cash, which it should be. I mean, there's some level where this plays in, but if that's like the number one priority of your firm, it will show. It will show in the consult because you won't talk to the client, right? You won't talk to the client. Give a quote. Hey, here's what we charge. Can you pay that? Right? Tell the client, don't waste my time. Don't waste my time. I'm a valuable person. Don't waste my time, right? This is about me. If you want to have a conversation with me, then you better pay me money or else you're wasting my time, right? Our mission at Minnick Law is helping good people in their darkest hour. Helping good people in their darkest hour. So, are we delivering on that in the consult? Are we going to give a full diagnostic of the case? Listen through the client talk about their situation, follow up by sending them an action plan, a strategy for attacking their charge, for getting prepared for worst case scenario? Are we going to have a conversation where there's no timetable? If the consult lasts 15 minutes or an hour and 15 minutes, we're there to listen, make sure that we hear everything. Because people are unloading some of the darkest moments in their life when they relive that DWI arrest. So what is your mission? Is it profits or people? And again, profits have to be part of the conversation, but if your mission is money, then that's going to show in the consultation. There's no small criminal defense owners that I know that are running a nonprofit organization. We are not nonprofits. So revenues, profits, cash, That's important. Cold, hard cash is important, but that's not the mission. The mission is going to show up in the consultation. In that place, your mission is going to be communicated. So, dojo, the place of the way. How do we train to be better in the consultation? How do we train to be better in the consultation? Well, here's some of the ideas, some of the practical tips for training. Record your consults and listen back to them. Record your consults and listen back to them. Suggestion number 1. When you record, you're absolutely allowed to record. Tell the client, say, I would like to, or not allowed to, absolutely allowed to record. You should ask about recording the consultation, but say, look, we're going to talk about a lot of things during this consultation. I want to make sure that I don't miss anything in the event that you hire me. Do you mind if I record our conversation? Sometimes that can be helpful when you go back and send any after consult action items. If you want to be like, hey, did I tell the client this in the conversation? You can listen back to that. So ask to record your consult and then listen to it. Listen to how you sound during the consult. Do you interrupt? Do you cut the client off? Are you giving the full information that you want to give? Did you miss something? How is your tone throughout the consultation? Are you responding in an empathetic way? Listen back. It's painful. It sucks to listen to yourself on an audio recording. We all hate when we listen to ourselves on our own voicemail, right? That's like a 10-second at most voice message recording, right? We hate listening to ourselves. I hate listening to myself back on the podcast. I've done it in the past to kind of get some education or go back and listen to a guest that I've had on the episode. I hate listening to myself. Nobody likes listening to themselves. Listen back and find ways to improve. If you have a paralegal, if you have another lawyer at the office, ask them to listen to you. We did a training several years back at our law office where we basically did a training on consultations. And as a group, we listened to 3 lawyers doing consultations. And if you think it's embarrassing listening to yourself back, or you like get cringy when you listen to yourself back, imagine doing that in a group of 10 lawyers. Imagine listening back to yourself as you're talking to the client and getting feedback from 10 other lawyers. Now, that's super embarrassing and not fun, but incredibly insightful and helpful. Be vulnerable. Ask other people to help you get better at what you do. Ask for feedback. Being vulnerable is an opportunity to get better. When you go in the dojo, you don't want to beat every single opponent in the training grounds. You want to face some other people that are higher belt than you, that are more experienced than you, because those are the people that when you tangle with them, you improve. When you train with them, you get better. Record your consults and listen to them. Get other people to listen. Listen to other lawyers do a consult, whether that's from, same that we just talked about, recording, or just asking somebody else if you can sit in and listen to them. I went down a couple of years back to a training conference with another lawyer. And he was doing a consultation on the phone. Couldn't tell exactly, all the specifics of what I couldn't tell the specifics at all of what the client was sharing with him. I heard him, giving some general advice and feedback to the client. But I got to hear his side of the conversation as we were driving down the road. And it was awesome. There was some things that he said where I was like, man, that's a great way to phrase that. One thing that he said, and I'll never forget this, he asked the client, what do you see as a good outcome in this situation? What are you hoping for? What does a good outcome look like for you? And I was like, man, I never ask my clients that. How can I even attempt to achieve what they're hoping for if I'm not asking that question? What are you wanting out of this? Do you want this thing to go away? Do you want to get it pled out as soon as possible so you can move on with your life? Do you not know what you want? I mean, if I'm trying to go to bat for you as your attorney, I should know what it is that you're hoping for. Let's get our expectations aligned. I thought it was a great question that he asked. Listen to other lawyers do a consult. That was happenstantially. How many times is that going to happen for you happenstantially? I don't know. So go do it intentionally. Go talk to a lawyer and just say, I love to listen to you talk to a couple of clients. Can you tell me, if there's a good time? It would be hugely appreciated. Take the lawyer out to lunch, talk to them, say, I'm trying to get better. I want to make sure that I'm communicating appropriately to clients. Is there a way that I could listen in on a consult? Make sure you're going to get the client's permission to listen in on any consultation if you can hear their side of the conversation. Listen to other lawyers do consults. That's a training ground. Find a class on consultations. Now, you think this is crazy. You think this is silliness. It exists. One of my favorite classes that I have taken in post-law school life is Intake Mastery by Allison Williams at the law firm Mentor. This is something you can go on our site. You can purchase it. I don't remember what we paid for. I think it was somewhere between $500 to $1,000 for this 6-part series. Unbelievably valuable information. Find a class on getting better at the consult. Number 4, track your conversion rate. Track your conversion rate. Here's a fatal flaw for us lawyers. Here's a fatal flaw. Here's a fatal mental mistake. Here's what we think. Clients are hiring me, so I don't need to improve my consults. Right? It's working. It's working. People are hiring me. I'm not going out of business. In fact, I might even have so much work that I can't even keep up with it. So why would I track my conversion rate? Like, why would I even try to improve? Like, they're already hiring me. At what % are you being hired? Could you charge more and take on less cases if you had a better understanding of your conversion rate, especially at your particular price point, at the particular way that you are doing the consultation? We started tracking conversion rates at our law firm roughly a year ago. And it's incredibly helpful information. For me, it's helpful information. What is our conversion rate on a DWI client? And I tell you, experience on paper appears to be a big indicator of the likelihood of person, client, hiring lawyer in terms of our personal metrics. But what can we do as lawyers within the firm to improve our conversion rate, to improve the number of clients that call us and end up retaining us? Don't make the mistake that believing that because you're getting hired by some clients now, that you're not losing out on cases. Because if you're not tracking that, I guarantee that there is not the same amount of clients that hire you that should be hiring you. So number 4, track your conversion rate. Number 5, get a sensei. Hey, we're in the dojo. Get a sensei. Get a teacher. Get a mentor. We absolutely understand that you need to look at mentors in the courtroom. You need to find mentors in the courtroom that can help you become a better lawyer, that can help you figure out how to better advocate for your client's position, that can help you understand different legal defenses that might exist in your specific client's case. But what about for consultations? What about for the business side of things? Get a sensei. Find somebody that can help you get better at delivering meaningful information to clients, that can help you better empathize with clients during the consult so that they will trust you more, so that they will divulge more information to you, so that as you proceed forward with the case, they will believe in what you're doing and trust your judgment as you move towards a final disposition, final outcome on the charge. Number 5, get a sensei. Number 6, practice consults. Talked before in the past about Allen Iverson's practice quote. I'm not gonna do it. I have to do it. We talking about practice, man. We talking about practice. We are talking about practice. Practice consults. You got to practice consults. Again, that's why we devoted an entire day of training at our firm a couple years back to just practicing consults. And in all honesty, we should be doing that at least once a year, probably multiple times a year. This is like the key to our business across all criminal defense lawyers. Consultations is the lifeblood of our firms. That's just the reality of the situation. Why would we not try to practice getting better at that? You think it's going to be easier to practice with a client or to practice with somebody else? It's going to be easier to do a practice consultation with another lawyer, with somebody else at the office. Get their feedback. It doesn't just have to be lawyers. Yes, you want to know what legal information you could have communicated better, maybe how you could better explain something, what a PJC is. How many times have you explained that to clients and you're like, man, well, I don't even know if I'm communicating the right information. Something about an expunction. Do you or do you not have to disclose this? Some of it is like legalese, legal questions. How can I communicate this to somebody that's never spoken this language before? But you also want to just get normal people, whether that's, your legal assistant, your spouse, somebody, a friend, and just say, hey, look, pretend like you got a DWI, call me. All right, that was my explanation. That was my pitch. What didn't make sense to you? How did you feel that I came across? Be straight with me. Ask people for specific feedback. Don't just say, what'd you think? How did I do? What was your experience? Don't ask just general questions. Say, tell me 3 things that I could have done to have delivered a better consultation, to have delivered that information better to you. Tell me one thing that you didn't like about that interaction. How did I come off? Tell me one way that I could communicate better to a client. If you got a good friend, tell me one way that I came across as a dirtbag, right? Like just be specific. Ask for specific feedback so that people aren't like, oh no, you did a great job. That's all good. No, don't take that as an answer. That's a sucky answer. If you're going to spend the time practicing, you need to get better. Like practicing with no feedback is totally pointless. You have to demand feedback from your practice sessions. Specific feedback, ways that you can get better. Just like as a side note, always tell lawyers this after trial. Ask the DA, ask the clerk, ask the judge in the courtroom, what could I have done to advocate for my client better? Give me one thing that I could have done better. That way it's like not too much of a demand on their time, but you will get some amazing feedback from that. Just be vulnerable. Ask for feedback. Hey, I'm trying to improve. Nobody is going to think less of you for that. They're going to think, man, this is a guy that's really getting after it. I would say the longer you've been in practice, the more impressive it is. If you're day one out of law school and you're asking that question, I still think you get a lot of respect. It's like, man, this person is vulnerable enough to ask for that. If you're 10 years in practice and you say, hey, what could I have done better during this trial? How could I have communicated my point better? Man, that's somebody that is a warrior. That's somebody that's after it. That's somebody that demands respect. This person is still trying to improve after that well-executed trial, that well-executed argument. Ask for, demand that feedback. So those are some practical training tips. Now, this is where we're going to end, because again, we're talking about the place of the way. And in some sense, the consult is not like a physical location, right? We're talking about this as somewhat of a symbolic location, the consult, but place matters. Place matters. The place of the way, the place of the DWI warrior way. Where is that location? Where are you doing your consults? Are you doing it in a distraction-free environment? Some of my best consults are done in the car. Why is that? Because I don't get distracted. I don't get distracted. If I'm driving on a long trip, it's like basically the only thing that I have for entertainment, because otherwise it's just, the interstate whipping by, same thing that I've seen. Like there's this not entertaining. The only thing that's interesting is this conversation. This is the only thing that I have going on. So find that distraction-free space. If you're sitting in front of a computer taking notes, that's fine. If you are in the car, you got to be really diligent, and sometimes I struggle with this, about immediately memorializing the conversation that you just had, making sure that you don't miss the details, making sure that you get that into notes very quickly. It's also why it can be helpful to record, so that if you can't remember something, you can go back into that. But if you're sitting at a computer, you're taking notes, maybe you're doing this virtually, maybe you're doing this with the client in the office, don't have tabs or email open. Don't get distracted. Don't allow that distraction to come in. You get an email from a judge or a DA during the middle of your consultation, you're probably opening that email to see what it says. You get an email saying that a bill is past due. You get an email that says that there is this client, this current client called and is hot about this from your legal assistant. That's going to be distraction. It's like, oh shit, I've got to go put out this fire as soon as I get out of this consult. You're already working on how to put out the fire. Again, I've already heard the same story on the other side of the table 1,000 times. Let me spend some of my mental energy figuring out how to put out this fire immediately afterwards. You got to be distraction free. Don't miss important information. People can tell when you are present with them. People can tell. You got to be distraction free. Similarly, think about where your client is. A lot of my DWI consults are done over the phone. I tried to encourage people to do Zoom, didn't get a lot of buy-in on that. A lot of people do not want to drive to meet me at the office. We can do it over the phone. I know some lawyers are big on in-office consultations. I really missed that when I first started practicing. Most of my consultations, I would say 80% plus of consultations were probably done in the office. Now it's got to be less than 5%. I don't know exactly where it is, but it's definitely less than 5% of consults are done other than by phone. And I would say drastically less. It's probably close to 1% at this point. 1 out of 100 people that want to meet me at the office as opposed to doing a phone consultation. So it's almost entirely phone for me. Again, that differs based on the type of charge. The more serious the crime, the more important it is to have some sort of face-to-face interaction. And I think that that's really important in terms of creating that trust that we talked about. But again, you all know better than me what your practice looks like. But obviously think about your space. If you're having somebody in your office, you got to think about your space. But on the flip side, what is the place of the client's consultation experience? I know where I am. I'm either in my car or I'm in my office. That's where my consultations are done. My home office or my office. My office, my home office, the car, boom. That's where I do consults. Those are the place of the way for me. So you got to set up your office, your home office, your car as a place that is conducive to a consultation, that is distraction free, that is a good place to get that work done, to focus on the client in their time of need. Now, what is the client's place of the way? Well, obviously, if they're coming into the office, then it's just shared location, which again is ideal. As much as I'm not doing that, I think that the ideal is for the client to be in the office. That's why I was trying to encourage people to do Zoom. I think that that face-to-face interaction is so important for trust. I think that visualizing the person that you're hiring is so important in terms of, I'd say it's a competitive advantage for the lawyer that is meeting face to face with a client, even if that's in a virtual setting, virtual room. But where is the client meeting from? So again, 99 out of 100 plus calls or clients are interacting with me by phone. Where are they? Well, I can tell where they are. I can hear them. They're oftentimes distracted. I had a client that was like doing work in a warehouse, like was pulling things off of shelves as he's doing his consultation. I've had clients that have kids screaming in the background. I've had clients that are going through drive-throughs. I've had clients that are like, hey, let me step outside. I'm at work. Give me a moment. People are all over the place. And again, we kind of tend to think, oh, they're all like, they're in it. Like I called them and they're immediately ready to just listen to everything that I'm about to say. It's okay to ask, hey, is this a good time for you? We're about to go through some pretty important information, and I just want to make sure that you're going to be able to take that in. I tell people to kind of avoid some of the pressure from that. Hey, I'm going to send you a written recap of everything that we talked about so that you'll have that in your possession. But people are often distracted. People are often engaged in other things. You're catching them at a bad time, and you want to at least know that. And I would say probably discourage that. We're going to go through some important things. Is this a good time for you? If not, I can give you a call back later. We'll set up a time to talk through everything. As much as I'm all about the immediate response and the immediate expectation by the client that you're going to call them back and this like accessibility of information, you also want to make sure that the client is engaged, that you call them into the present. We are going to walk through a game plan for moving forward with your case. I'm going to go through in detail the anticipated consequences that you are facing: courtroom, driving, employment, criminal record. We're going to walk through these things. Are you in a good place to be able to hear the information? And again, I'm not saying it exactly like that. You got to figure out how it makes sense to say it for you. But if you hear those distractions coming in, you want to make sure that people are listening. And if they're like, yeah, I'm good to go, and you still hear that they're like doing some sort of work, they sound out of breath, the person, you hear the kids screaming in the background. I always tell people, like, look, I've got 7 kids. The reason I'm working where I'm working right now is because it's a madhouse at home. Like that, I hold no grudges against somebody that has a kid that is not wanting to let their parent be distraction free. Like that's just the norm. But make sure that you're calling them back into the conversation. If they're telling you something, hey, let me just make sure that I heard you right. Is this what you said? Right? Like that's mirroring back to the client, but it's also making sure that they're pulled in to the conversation. You start delivering the consequences. Does that make sense? Do you have any questions about that? Was there anything that was unclear about that overview of the courtroom? Pull people back in. Make sure that they are hearing the information. Place is important. With all of these things that we're going to go through in the Dojo series, the place is important. But beyond that, the consultation is the place of the DWI warrior way. And it's the initial place, the initial impression, the first impression that you get to make with the client is in that consultation. Obviously, website, obviously, whatever marketing has gone in. If you're getting referred, there's already impression, but this is your first interactive opportunity, that your first interactive first impression with the client. So the place of the way, number one dojo location is the consultation. So with that being said, I'm excited again to be back on the podcast with you guys. Excited for the dojo series, and I look forward to speaking with you again next time.